Shalom, and welcome to Psychology of the Parsha for Parshat Bechukotai. The Parsha begins, Im Bechukotai Telechu. Literally translated, if in my statutes you walk, or you follow. What is this referring to? What would come to mind when one says, if you walk, if you go in my statutes, that you follow the commandments? However, the verse continues, Ve'et mitzvotai tishmeru, and you will fulfill my commandments. So it's obvious that Bechukotai telechu is not talking about the same thing, because why would the Torah repeat itself and say the same thing twice in one verse? So Rashi tells us, Bechukotai telechu actually means that Hashem is saying, I want you to please toil. That's the word, amelim, to work hard on the study of Torah. I want you to really, totally dedicate yourself to the study of Torah. Question, if the Torah is actually referring to the study of Torah, why use the word bechukotai and why say telechu? Again, bechukotai means literally my statutes, and telechu means you shall walk, you shall go. The answer is in really examining the word bechukotai. If we look at bechukotai, not as deriving from the root which means statute, chok, but rather from the root word chakika, lachkok, which means to engrave, this matter begins to make sense. What the Torah is telling us is that it's not enough to have a superficial dedication to the study of Torah, rather to, as Rashi says, toil, to work hard in the study of Torah. Thus, making it such a part of one's life that it's in a manner of chakika. It is engraved. It is part of you. Just like if one should take stickers and attach them to a beautiful slab of stones, say for example. You can read the letters, that makes a beautiful sign. But the fact is that the letters and the stone are two separate entities. They're just stuck together. So there's always a potential of them coming apart. Likewise, if one should write, as we have the Torah is parchment, and the scribe applies ink to that parchment, and thus creates the letters which makes up a kosher Torah. But there's always that risk, that potential of those two separating. Thus we have some times where a Torah, a pair of tefillin, a mezuzah, can unfortunately become unkosher. Why? Because a letter faded, detached, was scraped off, cracked. However, if one should take and engrave, carve out in a stone, those very same letters, what happens then? That becomes inherently part of that stone. That becomes inherently part of the material, whether it's stone or wood, in which those letters were engraved. The idea is, Hashem is telling us that the attitude towards Judaism, towards following the Torah, towards studying Torah and doing the mitzvot, has to be in a manner that this becomes one with your life. Unfortunately, too often we find very well-meaning Jews that do, for the most part, keep tradition, follow the mitzvot, to whatever level. However, sadly, for many, or I should say too many, that reality is superficial. Meaning that the person and the Torah, or the person and the mitzvah, are two separate things, which at times, sometimes, very oftentimes, come together, but it's still two separate things. And that is dangerous, because once something gets in the way, those two things can separate. Whereas when the Torah becomes part of you, You and the Torah are one. It is engraved in you, so to speak. You and the Torah are one. Even when you're not actively studying Torah, even when you're not actively performing a mitzvah, you and the Torah, you and the mitzvah, you and Judaism are one. Your way of thinking, your way of behaving, even in the mundane, even in something which is not inherently a mitzvah, becomes influenced and is influenced by who you are, and now who you are is Torah. It has Torah in you. Torah is engraved in your mind. It's almost like when you train for something, whether it's a sport, whether it's for emergency situations, and you go through a rigorous, repetitive training. For what purpose? For that to become part of you. That to become you. What's called muscle memory. That to become so part of you that even in the worst of circumstances, even if in sudden state of emergency, you don't forget what to do. You don't have to think it over. You don't have to think it out. It's done. It happens because it's you. Just like you naturally breathe, just like you naturally react to when you're walking and something is in your way, you walk around it. You don't have to stop and think, do I do this? Do I do that? It's natural. It's instinctive. Likewise, Hashem wants the Torah to be us, to be part of us, to be who we are. And that's when we're able to incur the blessings that follow, which Hashem says, I will give you all your needs. I'll provide everything that you need in order to better enhance your ability to do the Torah. So I strongly encourage you, myself, all of us, to apply ourselves to Torah to such a degree that Torah and us become one, become engraved in each other. Shalom.